different segments of the society. The project, which started on a completely negative note, we brought it to a positive thing through complete communication strategy, addressing different social groups, addressing their concerns, and in a period of a year, we were able to win over the city, and today the city is with us. So this becomes very important in a PPP project, because the pragmatic aspects of a PPP project are completely different from the theoretical ones, which one gets to know about it in books and academic institutions. Then the issues. L&T was not prepared to start the project because they were finding so many problems, saying that everywhere there were agitations going on in the city. As a part of the project, about 6,000 trees had to be cut. Newspapers launched a campaign saying that it's going to be Operation Green Hunt, actually they're destroying the city, etc. So L&T was getting worried. When I was inducted into the board of L&T Metro Rail Hyderabad Limited, the concessionaire specialist company for this particular purpose, then I gave a presentation. I said, what are your concerns? I'll take care of all the concerns. Before that, even the bankers were not coming forward. In fact, some people kept on ringing up all the CMDs of the banks. Don't finance this project because this project will not be a viable project, because nowhere else in the world it is done. Simple. Okay. So I had to address, along with my chief secretary, I had to address the bankers. The way I spoke, actually they said, sir, you are not speaking like a bureaucrat, you are speaking like a political leader. I said, yes, this project, actually I am leading it as a leader. Then what is the guarantee that you are going to be in charge of this project? I said, I gave up my career, okay, and I got absorbed in this state government to do this project. This kind of assurances we give. Same is the case when we entered, when I got inducted into the board of this company. I said, you are worried about, because they said one project in one city of India, it got stuck because the chief minister was not clearing a file which required to be, some trees were to be cut. So the project got held up for 1 year. They said, sir, how do you expect 6,000 trees? You are saying that. I said, okay, don't worry about it. So what we did was, we give some fancy titles. Those who understand Telugu or Indian languages, they know one Prasad and one Diksha, we called it. I first started planting trees, okay, before cutting trees. I said, the norm is, for every tree you cut, you are supposed to plant 5 saplings. I said, why 5? I'll do 20, 30, whatever number you want, I'll plant, okay. Any expert says that actually the tree can be translocated, I'll translocate it, no matter how much it will cost, okay. We translocated trees. We planted every year 1 lakh trees. So when we did it in the first year, there is automatically change in the perception of the city. Okay. They said, yes, these people mean business. Okay. They are not for simply harming the environment. So like that, there were so many examples. Then 13 religious structures so far, sensitive structures, without even people coming to know about it, you have to handle these things. In the Indian environment, where anybody can misuse, behind every religious structure, there is a commercial interest. We know it. But you have got to be very, very careful. You have to handle it with a lot of tact and care. We have done all that quietly, without touching the main temple. Sometimes we had to slightly refine the alignment. Sometimes you have to make alternatives. So many things you have to do. Sometimes you have to tempt them and then slightly relocate, do whatever it's possible. So sensitive structures, religious structures, heritage issues, there are lots of issues will be there when you have to do this kind of a project. So as an unending things, number of things are there. By doing all these things, basically we could give confidence to the private sector investor that yes, I can go ahead with my investment safely in this city. But this will go on and on. So what happens is, number one, initiative of the private sector, and one has to be very, very careful, because a PPP project can be misused either by the private sector or by the government for either doing things or for not doing things and making claims. Both are possible. So one has to be a person of integrity. You have to understand the concerns of the private sector. You have to address the concerns of the private sector. So these are all the aspects actually one has to be careful. The practical aspects are completely different from theoretical aspects. Of course, it will come once you do the project. This becomes a case study, or many case studies actually. Each one has an issue that needs to be addressed and solved actually. So like this, we were doing it, number of things. And in that process, a lot of technical innovation has come. Briefly, I'll touch about how financial innovation comes from technical innovation. Okay. Out of the 200 mass transit system, only 4 are making money. They're Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Taipei. Rest are all heavily losing money. In fact, governments heavily subsidize these projects for the survival of the cities. So what we have done is, initially my project was designed by Delhi Metro, DMRC, as a government project. they identified 269 acres of land that is required for the project. What I did was, without changing, adding even an inch of land extra, even a square inch of land extra to this thing, same 269 acres I made use of. I said through engineering innovation, you can save 30% of the depots and I'll allow you to construct property development from ground floor onwards. Rest of the things, you go and see any of the Indian railway stations or any other government projects, etc. Ground floor will be occupied by rail facilities, bus facilities and all other things, etc. But commercial exploitation is important. Now Indian Railways also is contemplating the same thing. Okay? So I said commercial exploitation you could do, airspace commercial exploitation you do, but you can't sell it actually. You can only use the lease rentals during the concession period, and at the end of the concession period, the assets which you build will come back to us as per the terms and conditions of the concession agreement. This is the innovation we did. The kind of engineering innovation we have done as a part of this project is a huge engineering innovation. In fact, some of the things for the first time in the world we are doing it actually. See, kind of, for example, the station. An elevated station, the criticism of an elevated station is that it gives a tunnel look because for a distance of about 140 meters, for a width of about 20 meters actually, you are going to completely cover the road actually, it gives a tunnel look. So the challenge I gave to that, because it's basically a portal structure. You have one pier in the middle, one pillar this side, one pillar that side. So the whole thing is covered. The challenge I gave to my L&T engineers is that actually why didn't you do it as a cantilever station, only with the middle pier, do away with the side piers. A beautiful structure has come actually, took about 8 months, but engineering innovation we have done, beautiful structure has come. And like that, and I say, how do you reduce the energy consumption? That is another aspect. So we are designing our stations as open stations without air conditioning, etc., so that energy consumption becomes an important issue. Because all these things ultimately lead to financial returns. Otherwise, these projects are not financially viable. So like that, lots of issues are there, lots of things can be talked. The point I'm making is that actually one has to have an open mind, an innovative approach to make PPPs a success, and more than that, it is the commitment and integrity on the part of the government officer who is heading this organization, along with the private sector. The role of the government officer becomes equally important actually to make PPPs a success. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me. Thank you.
I would now request Mr. Zanis Budobnik, the Acting Director General ICP, to give his brief remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, let me start with my congratulations to our main organizer, Institute of Public Enterprise, for excellent organization this international conference. Director Professor Misra, conference convener Dr. Rajesh, and all team, my sincere congratulations. Thank you. I would like to thank also all our guest speakers, chairs, the panelists, especially the sponsors, media representatives, and at the end, of course, to you, to participants. In International Center for Promotion of Enterprises from Europe, from Slovenia, as international organization and intergovernment organization, we are happy and proud to be co-organizer such international conference. I would like just to inform you here in this conference that our international center, in collaboration with international bodies, last year and a half ago developed a special ICP International PPP hub for consulting, training, research and promotion activities in support of PPP efforts. And in this content, last year we were organizing similar international conference in Nigeria, this year in Hyderabad, next year probably again here in Hyderabad or somewhere in India. Regarding the topic of the conference, I would like to underline 3 points. First, efforts to popularize PPP are needed at all levels and in all spheres of public life. These efforts are expected to lead towards development of a new PPP economic culture, which does not only facilitate a reconciliation, if I may say, a reconciliation between sometimes contradictory public and private interests, but also allows and helps generate benefits from the innovative combination, as we already said now, an excellent example of good practice. So, innovative combination of the best elements of these two spheres. Second point, a clear, consistent, stable, and transparent regulatory and policy framework is required for successful development of public-private partnership throughout all stages, from pre-transaction stage, as it mentioned, selection, screening, structuring, tendering, and at the end evaluation, to the post-transaction stage, regulation and monitoring. And third point, objective presentation of benefits and threats of PPP most effectively address issues of negative public image in certain countries, in certain areas. All procedures, public calls, tendering, selection, negotiations, contracting, monitoring, etc., should be guided by highest standards of transparent governance and accountability. At the end, as it was said, I would like again to say, together with our partner in India, especially with Institute of Public Enterprises, ICP is prepared, and we together already planning a follow-up conference with topics on PPP. As suggested yesterday, Joint Secretary Pavadia, maybe is another very interesting topic, corporate social responsibility, or it was mentioned 2 days ago, sustainable development. We are really open to work with you, Professor Mishra, and your team. At the end, in the name of ICP team, or if I may say, Jan and Martin, in the name of Europe delegation, I would like to thank here for your hospitality. Not in just in my name of myself, in name of Professor Nevenka Hrovatin, Tomáš Rogl, David Palčić, Boštjan Bedene, and especially in the name of Jan van Schoonhaven and Martin Sobek, for your very positive and dynamic vibrations here in Hyderabad, and we established new links and we found already new friends here. Thank you, and see you again in Hyderabad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now take the privilege of introducing our chief guest, Mr. A.K. Pavadia. Mr. Pavadia is currently the Joint Secretary in the Department of Public Enterprises, Government of India. He has an impressive academic background. He has 2 bachelor's degrees, one in political science and the other in law. He has 2 master's degrees, one in public policy and administration from London School of Economics and Political Science, and the other in political science from the University of Delhi. He holds a postgraduate diploma in human rights law from the Indian Law Institute, New Delhi. He has also studied at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, and the Royal Institute of Public Administration, London. Mr. Pavadia started his professional career in the Department of Political Science, the Delhi University. As a bureaucrat, he has worked in senior administrative positions in several ministries in the Government of India, such as Railways, Agriculture, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Civil Aviation, Heavy Industries, and Public Enterprises. In his present assignment as a Joint Secretary in the DPE, he is responsible for framing policies on a wide range of issues like corporate governance, management, salary and wage structure, and performance incentives. He is the author of the new DPE guidelines on CSR and sustainability, which has won acclaim from the eminent CSR experts. He has represented India in several international fora to speak on DPE's perspective on CSR and sustainability. He is on the board of governors of the Institute of Public Enterprise and is active member of the Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi. I request sir to give his address.
Professor Mishra, Dr. Podobnik, the guests of honor seated on the dais, eminent speakers before me, distinguished participants, foreign delegates, good afternoon to all of you. One advantage or disadvantage, whichever way you may look at it, of speaking in the valediction is that whatever is to be said has already been said on the subject. And if you happen to be the last speaker in that valedictory session also, like me, there is precious little that you can say on the subject, unless you want to repeat and bore the audience. So what people normally do is they just thank the organizers and the participants, and I'm also tempted to do the same. Anyway, this was in a lighter vein, but I must say that while the eminent speakers here were addressing the audience and you were actually discussing the PPP model, the PPP projects, the partnerships, how to forge them, I could not attend some of the sessions, although I was hugely tempted to be present here. And the reason is, on the sidelines of this conference, we were actually working on a partnership in the same PPP mode. It was a partnership being forged between the government of India, between IPE and ICPE. And I must say, if Dr. Podobnik and Professor Mishra vouch and bear me out, that we were hugely successful in the initiatives, and these 2 days have been extremely useful for us for forging this partnership in the same spirit. So therefore, the flavor of the day is partnerships. PPP, yes, that's the flavor of the day. And whilst on the subject of PPP, I must say that whatever little I heard, I was quite impressed by the presentations made, by the views expressed, by the issues discussed in such detail by the participants and the speakers. It was very impressive. Several projects in different sectors of the industry and economy were taken up in which PPP has been experimented. And right from the selection, planning, implementation, execution, financing, delivery, all these aspects were discussed in detail, which is amazingly good. I was very impressed with these two, and I'm sure that we are, all of us are wiser now after these 2 days as to what PPP stands for, how it is an important development model, and we can take away a huge sum of knowledge on the subject. I personally have been enlightened quite a bit. I'm sure everybody has been. So I would thank the organizers for having organized this conference on PPP. It is a very topical subject these days because India is one of the leading countries. Almost all of you must be knowing that India is one of the leading countries for having experimented PPP model in a huge way. In terms of the number of projects that we have taken up in the world, India stands second only to China. And in terms of the investments made in PPP projects, India is second only to